You ever play a game where you're enjoying yourself, having a great time blasting through it, and then all of a sudden, bam, your progression stops instantly? Yeah, we've all been there at some point, and it can be annoying as hell. Some games like Resident Evil or Legend of Zelda are based around puzzles and trying to figure out what to do next, and there can be fun to be had with this type of gameplay. But what about the games that aren't puzzle-based and full of this crap? Whether it's an out-of-nowhere difficulty curve, an out-of-place puzzle, or even a game mechanic that you wouldn't even have known about without outside help, it can be infuriating if you don't know what to do. Thankfully, that's not much of a problem nowadays thanks to the internet, and while I don't like relying on it, sometimes the solution just won't appear to you and you can spend hours or even days on it. Hell, if you grew up before the internet, it could have been years before you figured out how to get past the part of the game that stopped you from experiencing the rest of it. And today I'm going to be talking about my personal 10 biggest brick walls in gaming. Not in particular order, but they all left their mark on me where even to this day, it's still a surreal feeling to pass these roadblocks. So, let's do it. So I'm kinda cheating on this one since I just said games like Resident Evil are supposed to have these moments as a thing to appeal to its players. You know, brick walls kinda come with the territory in any Resident Evil game, but there's always been one puzzle in the remake that has always stumped me every damn time I come back to this game. It's the puzzle late in the game where you gotta use X-ray stills to figure out the code for the computer. I don't know why, but I can never remember the solution to this one. Every other puzzle or item, I can put it together without even thinking about it, but to remember a single word? Pah, good fucking luck. As much as I love Resident Evil, I've always been one to point out how easy the puzzles are. Even on my first playthrough, I remember most of them not taking much to figure out. But I gotta give the developers credit. Not only did they provide an actual challenging puzzle, but I guess challenging to the point where even on repeated playthroughs, it still stumps me if I haven't played in a couple years. And not stumped for like a couple minutes, oh no. More like stumped for a couple hours until I say fucking look up the solution. And every time I do, I die a little inside because I should have known what the hell I'm supposed to do by this point. It might be fresh in my mind right now, but give it time. I will forget the solution again, and when I do, I'll be ashamed of myself. A little off topic before I get into this one, but Luigis Mansion 3 needs to happen for the Switch. That'll be all. But yeah, you're probably thinking Luigi's Mansion is on this list? How the hell did you get stuck on this game? You must be quite the dipshit, aren't ya? And yeah, well, this pick is definitely a dipshit moment on my part, though I can't be the only one who fell for this. So shortly after you beat the first boss, you'll gain access to a new part of the mansion, and things seem to go normally. You follow your map to find out where you have to go next, and shortly after you make it to this room. Suck up all the ghosts and then you turn on the lights, but unlike the other rooms, there's no chest, no key that pops up, and you think, okay, weird, but now what? Surely you didn't miss something. And for most players, they probably didn't, but unfortunately, I'm not most players, and well, it kinda took me a couple days to notice the button on the wall in this room the first time I played. Yeah, I'm a dummy, dipshit, and dumbass all rolled into one here. I don't know how I missed this one for as long as I did. I mean, granted, it's not like it took me a year or anything to figure it out. But fuck me, not only did I not see it cleverly shown in the mirror, but I never clued in to use the Game Boy Horror to see if I was missing anything. 10 or 11 years old or not, this definitely wasn't my finest moment, and anytime I think about it, all I can do is laugh at how embarrassing this oversight was, cause fuck me, this was such a dipshit moment. Ugh. You know, I'm actually amazed I have gone 3 years without ever really talking about this game yet. It's one of my favorite games of all time alongside the first two Paper Mario games, and I probably enjoy them more than the main series itself. At least once or twice a year I get the urge to play through this one. Its gameplay, its story, visuals, dialogue, everything about it tugs at me, and I still dream of the day that we finally get a real sequel to this game. But that's for another day. So though Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars might be considered the equivalent of RPGs for dummies due to how simple it can be in terms of gameplay, well, for me it might not have been simple enough because I did manage to get stuck at this game at one point in time. No, I'm not bullshitting you people. I laughably and embarrassingly got brick-walled Mario RPG. Yeah, so how did I manage this, you may ask? Well, I'm sure you guys remember a certain little area called the Sunken Ship, and at one point there's a password that you had to figure out. Well, for a few years in the late 90s and early 2000s, it never dawned on me that the password was pearls. Kinda makes you wonder why anyone would take my views and opinions on games seriously, doesn't it? But to be honest, even now after looking at the clues, it still would have taken me some time to figure it out. This game isn't that hard in most cases. It's baby's first RPG. But this puzzle, it's so jarring how out of place it feels when compared to the rest of the game's difficulty. Shit, beating Kulix wasn't this difficult. But unfortunately, this puzzle kept me from experiencing the full game for a good while. And unlike a bunch of other games in this list, I was stubborn and would come back regularly. I think on one playthrough, my levels were at like 25 to 27. That's not that far off from max level, which is level 30. That's a long ass time for one playthrough. And that's not even counting other playthrough attempts until I did figure out the password. But I guess it kinda goes to show how much I love this game if I was still willing to play only half of it on multiple playthroughs. Nonetheless though, as bad as it sounds to not been able to experience this game fully for a few years, I still look back at this brick wall and laugh at it. Much like the button in Luigi's Mansion, this was definitely a retard moment for me. South Park Rally. Oh, how much the gaming community tends to loathe you. Shit, even I've regrettably bashed you in the past. And while I did correct myself and defend you by letting people know that you aren't as bad as what they make you out to be, you still ain't perfect. And have some pretty noticeable issues. But there's still one element about you that just completely blows me away. If any of you watch my South Park episodes, then you'll remember that I brought up just how cryptic unlocking characters can be in this game. Some of them are pretty straightforward, like completing the race, collecting all the hidden items like the pot pies or golden cows, but then South Park Rally likes to get, we'll say, creative in how you unlock some characters. Some of them are pretty interesting, but I'm sure you'll stumble upon some like only hitting the first and fourth checkpoints in the second race to unlock Pip, or only bringing back 4 pieces of candy at a time to unlock Death. Those aren't too bad, you'll probably achieve these through a couple playthroughs without knowing the solution. Well, how about getting 5 caffeine boosts in spring cleaning to unlock Tweak, or shooting the bookmobile 5 times with salty chocolate balls? Kind of getting pretty obscure there, game. But I mean, hey, maybe you'll luck out and get it by accident. Or in Carbon Cop's case, you'll just get it by screwing around with the bookmobile. But how about losing the Cow Days or Thanksgiving race without collecting a single turkey or the antidote to unlock Bebe or Starvin' Marvin? Again, I'm not shitting you. I mean, unless you royally suck at the game, you'll never unlock these 2 without outside knowledge. It's ridiculous some of the loopholes you have to jump through to unlock these characters. And that's the main point of story mode, to unlock the races and racers for multiplayer. Well, you ain't gonna get very fucking far with that, because I don't think anyone in their goddamn right mind is gonna figure out that you should lose as badly as possible in a race. I like this game, but Jesus Christ. If there was a brick wall that I'm glad I stumbled upon during the age of the internet, then it's the huge jump you had to make in F-Zero's White Land 2. Oh my god, this would've drove me insane as a kid. So, up until this point, many of the racetracks are fairly easy to figure out. They still take some skill, but for the most part, it's nothing anyone couldn't handle. But then we make it to White Land 2. Firstly, it comes off as disappointing since you immediately play this after White Land 1, so that's not a good start. But then as you start racing, you get to a certain jump. At first it's like, okay, awesome, this is gonna be a sick-ass jump. But then, kablamo. Afterwards, you're left sitting in front of your TV, dumbfounded. What the hell just happened, you might say? Well, maybe it glitched or something, so let's do that again. So you race again, then fucking blamo again. Now you know something's up. And you gotta figure it out soon or else you're gonna be sent back to the starting screen because, oh goody, the SNES racers had fucking lives. Ugh. But chances are you probably couldn't figure it out and then you get discouraged and just turn the game off entirely, only to retry it again here and there. This is one of those times where I am so thankful that you can look up stuff on how to get past something in a video game. I would have never thought to hold down the D-pad to make my car jump higher and stay in the air longer. And this is coming from someone who played the hell out of GX where I've used this mechanic many times. I should have known better. But here's the thing, these tracks are flat surfaces and jumps aren't that common at this point. So this isn't going to be an obvious thing for the player to know. Not to mention, it's not like the car makes it look like you can adjust yourself while you're in the air. So to see your racer blow up 3 or 4 times in a row and get a game over is heartbreaking. Well, at least I know I'm not the only one who fell for this. My buddy He-Man Gaming commented on this very thing in his review of F-Zero 2. So either we're both dumbasses, or this pick is valid. Y'all knew this was going to be on the list. Probably shocked it wasn't number 1, but that would have been predictable and we can't have that now, can we? But predictable or not, it doesn't take away the fact that this literal brick wall was just a really cruel joke, especially before the internet days. So flashback to the early 90s. You're all excited for the next adventure starring the Blue Blur. Sonic 2 boosted your excitement into Mega Drive. And then Sonic 3 comes your way. You probably jumped at the chance to play this game and you either bought it or rented it as soon as possible. Then you get it home, you pop it in and you're in love. Sonic and Tails get new mechanics, Knuckles looks like a badass, and the stages and music are a sight to behold. Basically, it's everything you could want from a sequel. So you're playing through, just racing your way and taking in how amazing Angel Island, Hydro City, and Marble Garden is. Then you reach Carnival Night Zone and probably think, oh my god, this is gonna be the best level yet! Little did you know what awaits you at the end of Act 2. Something you have never seen in a Sonic game before. Something confusing, cruel, and cryptic as fuck. A dead end that locks you in place and the only thing that can be interacted with is the spinning cylinder. Going off of what you experienced from jumping on these things beforehand, you'd think that's what you have to do to get out of here. And at first it looks like you might just get it. Just gotta time those jumps correctly. You'll get it sooner or later. Except you realize it definitely isn't sooner. In fact, it's damn near impossible. So what do? Nothing. This is 1994. You can't just look at what you're supposed to do. And for how cryptic the solution is, you'd be lucky to know someone who knew the answer. so you give up and move on. That awesome experience you were having? This fucking barrel killed it. I know it's easy to say this nowadays with Sonic Team's numerous fuck-ups, but straight up, what in the flying fuck were they thinking? Who the hell is ever gonna figure out that you're supposed to just stand on the fucking thing and just move the D-pad up and down until it drops down low enough? There's not even a mention of this in the manual, for Christ's sakes. The only way you're getting past this back in the 90s is if you figured it out by accident, or you were like me and somehow glitched through the wall and didn't die when it happened. You can fucking believe how quickly I finished that level and saved my progress on my Sonic Mega Collection file, because I was not doing that again. This barrel is infamous for a reason, and honestly, if I didn't glitch through the wall all those years ago, chances are this probably would have been my top pick. What a shithead move. If you've been following me for a while, then you know this one was gonna make the list somewhere. Even though I'm still just a little bitter about this stupid-ass Nintendo coin, it isn't even fucking funny. So as you probably know, Rare decided to hide a pretty awesome Easter egg in Donkey Kong 64, and that was the ability to play the original version of Donkey Kong, and not the semi-gimped NES version either. Looking back, yeah, alongside Jetpack, this was a really cool thing to add to the game. But you know what wasn't? Forcing the player to beat the game twice just to get a fucking coin that acts like a key to get another key that lets you fight the final fucking boss. Oh, it sucked my fucking... But I've already talked about this oh-so-lovely thing more than enough times in the past, so it's kind of beating a dead horse at this point. But you know something? There's something worse in this game. Oh yeah, there's something much worse that can stop your progression. And what is that, you might ask? This little add-on, the expansion pack. For the love of Christ, never, and I mean fucking never, let anyone borrow this thing. A friend of yours wants to borrow the game that requires it but needs the pack too? Well, you tell him tough fucking noogies, because chances are you will not see it again. You'll have to get a new one. This is exactly what happened to me as a kid. I let someone borrow it, and then the next thing you know, I never got it back, and for like 3 or 4 years I couldn't play the damn game until I got a replacement. Take it from me, it might suck not to be able to get past a certain part for a long time, but it's even worse when you're not even able to attempt to beat it, because this game is useless without it. Never let anyone borrow it. Save yourself some headache. Super Mario 64. Probably one of the most important games in the industry. Why? Well, you know why. But one of its biggest and most important things it introduced was 3D exploration. The freedom to go anywhere you want and interact with the world in a way that you could only dreamt of doing in 2D at the time. Well, that's kind of exaggerated, but you get my point. There was a sense of mystery. This was a new frontier for video games and it really felt like you could do anything. And the Power Stars helped heighten that feeling, but for a few of them, they might have upped the mystery a little too well. I'm sure for a bunch of people, there's always been those couple stars that you just couldn't figure out for the longest time, and I'm no different. Nowadays, I know how to get all 120 or 150 in the DS remake pretty easily now. That just comes with time and experience, but there was one star that I remember that threw me for a loop for the longest time, and that star was Blast Away the Wall in Whomp's Fortress. Oh, this star took me forever to figure out. What you're supposed to do is jump in the cannon and shoot Mario into the corner of the wall to break it and reveal the star. Simple enough if you know what you're doing. But if you don't, then it could be a pain in the ass to figure out, because for one, or at least in my case, you don't know if you're supposed to use the cannon or the bullet bill. Hell, for a while I thought you had to use the bullet bill to hit a weak spot in the tower. But obviously that ain't working, so I just moved on to other stars. I mean, sure, the star didn't stop me dead in my tracks from progressing, but it certainly did stop me from meeting Yoshi for the longest time. Plus, you're literally supposed to blast Mario into a brick wall. If that ain't fitting for this list, then I don't know what the hell is. Another game I'm surprised I never mentioned or brought up until now. But yeah, Diddy Kong Racing is definitely one of the most creative and ambitious games of its time. And I'm shocked we still never seen a sequel or a spiritual successor to come out of Nintendo. Either way, Rare was determined to make a racing game like none other before this, and including a story mode was one of the coolest ways to do it. You will spend a good amount of time on story mode, with racing to collect balloons, the 8-coin challenges, the battle mode like stages, and the boss battles. There's plenty of things to do, and mixed with that difficulty curve Rare games are known for, you'll be put to the test plenty of times. But then you complete everything and you get that final piece of the Whiz-Pig amulet. Now it's time to face off against the entity that's been looming over you ever since you started your adventure. You get into that mindset that this is going to be brutal. Depending on your skill level, the other bosses probably made you their bitch for a while. But oh my god, I never thought I'd get my ass handed to me this badly. For years, I could not beat this guy. I tried every character, every gimmick, like trying to get him to boot me forward. Nothing fucking worked. He was way too fast. Yet somehow I did manage to beat him with Banjo once. Don't ask me how I did it before knowing the trick, but I somehow managed to beat this son of a bitch. But of course, there's a way to make it a hell of a lot easier to pull off with one simple mechanic. I'm sure you're noticing that every time I run over the speed booster, I'm getting green flames instead of purple. Well, Rare cleverly hit a mechanic for boost where if you let go of the gas before you get one, then the boost will turn green and be much much more powerful. That's an awesome idea, just one dumbass problem. The game doesn't do anything to let you know that this is the case. I mean, I saw the green flames before quite a few times, but I never knew what triggered it, and I certainly didn't know it was a stronger speed boost. I didn't have a clue. And for the Whizpig races, it's pretty much required knowledge if you want to have even a chance of beating Whizpig unless you somehow luck out. At the end of the day, I guess it is possible to beat him without this trick, but when you're talking years to finally beat him without it, then there's a problem here. Unless I've been overlooking a hint the game gives in the past 20 years, maybe you should clue in the player, you fucking game. Oh, damn you, Rare. Ah, 007. You're probably one of the few licensed video game series that actually has a good reputation. Well, that is until Activision got their mitts on you and started pumping out crap. Say what you want about EA nowadays, but when they held the rights to produce Bond games, for the most part they did really good jobs. Even GoldenEye Rogue Agent had more creativity than anything Activision shat out, even if it barely had anything to do with 007. Agent Under Fire was okay, it's nothing to write home about nowadays though. Nightfire in my opinion is the best first-person Bond game that we have ever gotten. From Russia With Love came out of nowhere, but to have Sean Connery reprise his role one more time was amazing. And while a lot of people didn't like GoldenEye Rogue Agent as it felt like a step backwards from other 007 games, not to mention pandering to GoldenEye fans, there were still things I enjoyed about it. But I feel the one game that resonated with me the most was 007 Everything or Nothing. I love this game. It is quite frankly the fifth Pierce Brosnan Bond film that we never got. It had the balance perfectly. Not only did it feel like it was good enough to be a movie, but it played amazingly as well. Even now it still doesn't feel that dated outside of aiming. If you've never played it, you need to. Now, I know what you're thinking, what the hell is this, a mini review now? No, just trying to provide context. Let me put it this way, if trophies and achievements existed in 2004, I would have platinumed this game, that's how much I loved it. But fuck me, that platinum would have been hell to get, cause what Everything or Nothing does for unlockable cheats will test your patience and sanity. So in each stage, once you beat it on 00 Agent difficulty, you'll unlock an extra challenge. Beat the stage with clearing the extra challenge, then you'll unlock a platinum medal. The more platinum medals you get, the more cheats you'll unlock. Due to how much I enjoyed this game, I was determined to get all the platinum medals and unlock that sexy platinum gun. But that wasn't going to be an easy task due to the requirements. Some were fairly easy, such as beating a stage in a time limit, only taking so much damage, but then you start getting into requirements like not being seen, taking no damage, or using only 10 or no bullets at all. Yeah. You can already see where I'm going with this, but no. 007 Everything or Nothing isn't making the list because the extra challenges were too difficult. No. This brick wall is actually something a lot more simple than that. So let me explain to you guys about a certain quirk of mine that I have with games. Let's use Smash Bros. Brawl for example. I have probably deleted my save file of that game and started over dozens of times. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, for some games, mainly ones with a lot of unlockables, I get an urge to start from scratch and unlock everything all over again. Don't ask me why, but this is something that I do for some games, and I had done something similar with Everything or Nothing. Now, I never deleted my save file, but for reasons that boggle my mind nowadays, in between getting the platinum medals, I decided I wanted to start a new file. Maybe I just needed a break, but I still wanted to play. Why I didn't just play on the file I was hunting platinums on, but hey, I was 12 and an idiot. So after I got my fill, I decided to save my progress, and that's when I died a little inside. Somehow, some way, I did the worst possible thing I could do. Even now, I still cringe at the idea that I was this stupid to have let it happen. But I didn't just save my progress for a new save file, but I fucking overrated the file that had most of the platinum medals acquired. Dickhead. Yeah, me, dickhead. I was devastated. All that time put into beating those bullshit acquirements. Wasted. All for nothing. Stolen from me. And the worst part was, I did it to myself. Not a memory card corruption, not a disk failure. It was all me. I brickwalled myself. Even to this day, I still don't know what motivated me to try for them again right after it happened. It took me about another month or so, but I did manage to get all of them. But if that was to happen today, no fucking way. I would have been done. To only have 4 or 5 more platinums to go? Yeah, So while today I might not have held any picks in any particular order, but this one, hands down, had to be my number 1. Because it might not have been as infamous as some others, but for me personally, it left the biggest impact on me. And it was all me. Jordan, you really are a fuckhead sometimes, oh my god.